The time and attendance page can be accessed via the Payroll Settings tab here or here. There are two tabs on this page: Kiosk Management and Employee Access. Time and attendance kiosks may be set up to allow employees to clock on and clock off when they begin and end their shifts, and you can add, edit, delete kiosks from this page. A full access user can be set up to add a new kiosk for Clock Me In to connect to. However, restricted access users with kiosk access are not able to add new kiosks. Any kiosks you have already added within the business are listed here. And if you'd like to add a new kiosk, simply click the Add Kiosk button here. You'll then need to enter the following details: the name of the kiosk. This will be shown at the top of the kiosk when it's running. The location of the kiosk. Select the current locations that appear within the business by clicking on the drop-down box. The location that you select as the kiosk location will impact what the employee is able to select when clocking in. If you don't want employees picking multiple locations when clocking in, you need to set up the kiosk by assigning it to the location that should always be attached to the timesheet created for that employee. Alternatively, if you do want the employees picking the locations, then you are better off to create one kiosk and use the parent location, such as this, for that kiosk. That will then allow employees to select from whatever locations, which are sub-locations of that parent location, that they have access to. You can check what locations an employee has access to by going to their employee file locations page. Next, you'll need to select the time zone for the kiosk, and then whether or not you want to allow employees to select a higher classification when clocking on. If this is enabled, employees can select from any higher classification that they have access to. You can check which ones they have access to via their employee file work types page. Restrict employees to approved locations only. If this is ticked, employees will only be able to select from locations that have been enabled for them. You can check which locations have been enabled for an employee via their employee file locations page. Make this kiosk available to all restricted users with Clock Me In access. If this is ticked, any restricted user, which is set up via the Payroll Settings Manage Users page, will automatically be given access to this kiosk. Capture photo when clocking on and off. If this is ticked, the employee must take a photo when clocking on or off. The last setting, allow employees to apply rostered start and finish times when clocking on or off. If you select this, you'll also need to set the number of minutes an employee can apply the rostered start and end time up to. The final two settings consists of two options that have been set via the Payroll Settings timesheet page. These are whether or not employees must select a work type for their shift and whether or not employees must select a location for their shift. If you want to change these settings, you'll need to do it via the Payroll Settings timesheet page. While we're on the topic of adding a kiosk, you're also able to add a kiosk if you're a full access user within Clock Me In once you log in. You are able to delete a time and attendance kiosk by hovering over the name that you want to delete and clicking the red cross to the right of the screen. If you accidentally delete a kiosk, you're able to restore it by going to the Payroll Settings, Restore Deleted Items page and selecting Time and Attendance Kiosk from the drop-down box. A list of all deleted kiosks will appear and you can click the Restore option against the kiosk that you are wanting to reinstate. If we take a look at the Employee Access tab, this will allow you to grant access to the kiosks for employees. This will in turn enable employees to clock onto any kiosk. Simply select the employees that you want to enable and click Grant Access. If you're wanting to revoke access, simply click on the employee again and select the Revoke Access button. If you're wanting to do this in bulk, select the checkbox to the left of the name field and then click Grant Access if that's what you're wanting to do. Once access is enabled for an employee, they will receive an email with their employee ID and PIN code. Just a note on this, the PIN number supplied in the email is temporary. The employee will be asked to change it the first time they clock on. If we go back to have a look at the kiosks now, you'll notice a couple of icons. These are both related to launching the kiosk on desktop as opposed to an iPad. It's important to note that the time and attendance kiosk via desktop has been deprecated and is subject to minimal support. But just for the purposes of this video, I'll let you know that you can click this to copy the URL of the kiosk in order to paste it into another window. And this icon here will automatically launch the kiosk on the desktop. To be able to log into the kiosk that you have created, you'll need to download the Clock Me In app onto an iPad. It's important to note here that it's only available on iPad. You'll need to log into the Clock Me In app using the same username and password that you log into the web interface with. And there you go, that sums up the time and attendance kiosk page.